I don't normally post videos related to sports. I usually save that for a bit when making the goddamn news. But I just can't help myself. I've wanted to talk about this for quite a while now. I'm sure many of y'all watching are aware that the Super Bowl is about to happen. And needless to say, this season has been full of surprises from the NFL. From controversies to conspiracies, there's just been a whole lot of drama surrounding the league, and I want to talk about it and highlight some of the wackiest takes the internet has to offer. So the first tinfoil hat conspiracy is probably the most well known, and that is the Super Bowl logo conspiracy. For anyone who's unaware, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Basically, for the past 3 seasons, really 2, fans noticed how when the NFL released the Super Bowl logo for that year, the colors ended up matching the teams that would play that year. Because it happened for Super Bowl 56 and 57, fans were convinced that Super Bowl 58 would feature the Ravens and 49ers. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but spoilers, that didn't f***ing happen. Despite that, it still resulted in the internet claiming the NFL to be scripted, and that the only reason the Ravens didn't make it was because one of the refs didn't get the memo. If that isn't denial, then I don't know what is. But that's not where this conspiracy ends, as many brain-rotted individuals are still convinced that the logo for the Super Bowl does determine who will be featured and the outcome. This, in turn, led to many fans releasing fake Super Bowl 59 logos in hopes that their teams will be featured, rather than just accepting the cold hard reality that their team sucks. Some even go as far as to claim that the Super Bowl 58 logo was in fact right.
Look at this. This year it's red and purple. 49ers represent the red, and Taylor Swift's dress represents the purple. So the NFL got the colors right once again.
Now, I'm gonna hit y'all with another cold hard truth, sports fans. It's not a conspiracy or some elite gamer move, it's just stats. Anyone can look up any team, player, and odds at victory for a season when given a schedule/roster. If you just do the math, and I'm talking a lot of math here, you too can determine who has the best odds at making the Super Bowl and design a logo to hopefully reflect that season. However, even if you do all the math correctly, nothing is 100% guaranteed, especially with sports. So even though the Ravens came so close at victory, they just couldn't beat the Chiefs when it mattered most. And anyone who actually watched it can tell you Lamar just didn't have it in him that day. Now, the second conspiracy revolves around the actual contenders for the Super Bowl. And that is, the outcome of the game will determine who wins the US presidential election. And to that, I've just gotta say, what? Like, I know nobody asked for another Chiefs versus 49ers Super Bowl, but why does the media have to bring politics into everything? This is not just some schmuck that's floating around on the platform formerly known as Twitter. Actual news networks are claiming that the outcome of the Super Bowl could determine who wins the 2024 presidential election, which rests in the hands of Taylor Swift.
Her tour, the sheer popularity that she has, her ability to move people to buy products by simply wearing them. She looks a lot like Oprah in '08, and I think she could have a very large effect on enthusiasm in this election.
You can't make this shit up. It's bad enough the media is trying to implement politics into sports, but leave Taylor Swift out of it. If she actually does express political beliefs, then no matter what the outcome is, it's not going to benefit her at all. Side note aside, yes, this is a pretty messed up conspiracy. To summarize, however, if the Chiefs win, then Joe Biden gets reelected. And if the 49ers win, then Donald Trump becomes president again. Wow, we really are just repeating history here. I don't even know how they came to this conclusion. Aren't Kansas and Missouri pro-Republican? And if you think California is gonna flip, you're delusional. They couldn't even apply some sort of logic to an otherwise ridiculous conspiracy. They literally just pulled this out their ass and posted it online. I should probably move on before I have an aneurysm. Stepping away from conspiracies, let's talk about some drama surrounding the NFL that could be considered controversial. The main issue I want to address is nothing new in terms of sports, but really spiked after last year's Super Bowl for the NFL, and that's referee interference. There are just so many unnecessary calls that in this day and age, it really feels like it's the referees who are the ones to decide the outcome of the game, rather than the actual players. I'm not saying that's the case with all of them, just a large sum, and it's especially annoying when it happens during some of the most crucial games in the season. Hence why Super Bowl 57 was so controversial, as it was a championship that was determined by the refs rather than the actual players. What's really irritating about this is there's no incentive to do a good job when being a ref. In fact, to this day, some of the worst referees in the history of the NFL are still being used when the outcome of the game is crucial for a team's progression. It doesn't matter if they do a good job or not, because at the end of the day, they all get paid roughly the same, so it's almost guaranteed you're going to have refs that are completely biased and will do whatever they can with the power bestowed upon them to help rig the outcome of certain games. Now, for the most part, I do think this season played out fairly well. Of course, I didn't watch every single game, but the ones I did watch in the regular and playoff season were, for the most part, determined by the teams that played. This is also why I don't believe that it was some kind of conspiracy as to why the Ravens lost against the Chiefs during the AFC Championship game. Because if you actually watched the game, you'll know that there was little to no interference from the referees. Their loss was of their own mistakes against the Chiefs. Now, the second bit of drama is definitely less controversial in terms of actual aspects of the sport, but more so in terms of publicity. And that's using Taylor Swift as a means to promote the NFL. Full disclosure, I get it. Taylor Swift is a highly influential person and a major celebrity in the eyes of the public, but the fact that the media seems to be labeling her as the face of the NFL, in short, is degrading. I can tell you why this is deranged, and it's very simple, really. She doesn't play for the NFL or is employed by them in any way. Why didn't they just use her boyfriend Travis Kelce or somebody like Patrick Mahomes? Better yet, why not rehire Tom Brady now that he's retired and put his face and legacy as a means to promote the NFL? I just can't even believe this needs to be said. There's hundreds of ways they could create a successful marketing campaign, and yet the one they chose is nothing more than a short-term publicity stunt. This is Taylor Swift. There is a 90% chance this relationship won't last. And what do you think's gonna happen if she and Travis break up and she writes another song about it? I'll tell you what'll happen. Her army of Swifties will start boycotting the NFL. There go your supposed fans. It wouldn't be half as bad if they actually paid her to promote the NFL, whether it's via actual ads or commercial. But no, instead they'd rather use free marketing and just show her on the Jumbotron at the top of every minute during every Chiefs game. I get that audience reactions are important, but it shouldn't take away from the actual game. Plus, it needs to be balanced amongst fans, because Taylor Swift is not the only one who paid money to be at these games, and part of the whole experience is a chance to show your support on television. And yet, the higher ends of the NFL are the sane ones in this, because compared to what Swifties have to say on the internet about their goddess, you'd think she was promoting her OnlyFans. These lobotomites actually think that Taylor Swift deserves a Super Bowl ring if the Chiefs win. And I'm not a doctor, but I can safely put a check mark in the box right next to mentally disabled. Again, she doesn't fucking play for the NFL! It doesn't matter who you are or whether you're a fan of sports. It is wrong to give a reward of great excellence in any field to someone whose contribution was irrelevant. Not that Taylor Swift contributed anything for the Chiefs. This would be worse than any participation trophy in elementary school, because she didn't even do the bare minimum and actually participate. I didn't see Taylor Swift put on a helmet and go out there and take hits left and right on the field. I didn't see her calling the shots and taking risks in order to pull off a win. That was all them. That's the work of this dynamic duo. All she did was sit there and look pretty. I don't think this needs to be said, but then again, I didn't think a lot of this nonsense needed to be. But I don't hate Taylor Swift and have nothing against her. I simply dislike how her fans perceive her in regards to athletics and how the NFL has used her to promote the sport. I also have nothing against publicity stunts so long as they aren't milked. An example of a publicity stunt done right was when Mr. Beast joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 48 hours. And unlike T Swift, he actually did the bare minimum and went out on that field geared up and everything, where the Buccaneers then lost to the Falcons. Let's go! I don't even think T Swift's gonna be at the Super Bowl because she's busy touring Japan. But if she does show up, then let me just incept this idea into y'all's noodle. If she were to receive a ring, it'll be one given to her by Travis Kelce. So yeah, that's really all the major stuff that's happened this season for the NFL. Of course, I also want to take a moment and just highlight some other notable moments that occurred just to give a little bit more recognition for the sport. We watched the Houston Texans go from the worst team in the NFL last season to making the playoffs this year with their new quarterback, CJ Stroud. The Detroit Lions clinched their division for the first time in 30 years and didn't get knocked out immediately. The Buffalo Bills went from risk of being eliminated to winning 5 games straight to clinch their division. Meanwhile, the Eagles went on a bit of a losing streak towards the end of the season, losing their almost clinched division and getting knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. The Falcons finally fired Arthur Smith after 3 consecutive seasons with a win ratio of 7-10, and then the Steelers hired Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator after ending their season near elimination just to clinch a wildcard position for their division. So I guess they want to make sure that never happens again. And lastly, the Panthers became the worst team in the league this season and set a record for worst turnout in NFL history. At the same game, they also set the record for cheapest NFL tickets ever sold at just 45 cents. Well, that pretty much summarizes this season for the NFL. I'll most likely watch the Super Bowl even though I couldn't care less who wins or not. I'm not a Chiefs fan or a 49ers. I'm just hoping to be entertained, and so long as ESPN and other networks focus primarily on the game and who's playing, I think it'll be a good time. Also, someone in my Discord chat commented on my live stream that if Taylor Swift does show up for the Super Bowl, it'd be hype if she were to drop in via helicopter before the game starts. Which, what a fucking idea. Now that would be an epic publicity stunt. But anyways, that's really about it. So